sense. We are the strand in between that makes things happen, for sure. And so today we would like to introduce our speaker, Deborah Worden. She is the CEO of Action Toward Independence. And I'm making this up, but I think I'm probably right. She is passionate about helping others. And not just passionate about helping others, but passionate about helping and teaching others to empower themselves. Action for Independence does that. Empowers people with disabilities and people without to be better parents, handle their money, learn computers, harness their anger constructively, to name just a few. So we welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me, including online?
So far.
Wonderful. So thank you for having me, and I am so always grateful to be able to talk about ATI. It's just an acronym for Action Toward Independence, and I don't like to use the acronym speak too much because you can kind of lose some people. It's its own vernacular, right? It can be a little overwhelming. So if you have any questions on an acronym, please stop me at any time. So ATI is what's called an Independent Living Center. And does anyone know what that means? No, that's okay. A little bit. So the interesting thing is most people think independent living center that we're residential, right? And we are not. An independent living center is basically an organization where it's the center of information for anyone who has a disability. So some independent living centers, and by the way, we are national. We are funded by federal dollars, thankfully, as well as each of us have sometimes state and local municipal funding that provides for the services to the community. But to be a true ILC, Independent Living Center, you have to follow an executive order. And that executive order says that we must be a peer-run organization. So to meet that definition, over 51% of our staff has to have a disability. And over 51% of our board of directors has to have a significant disability. But when I say disability, can anyone tell me, and please, I encourage those online too, and I apologize, I know that my back isn't to you, but I feel like
They're looking at
because my camera's right there. It's a logistical old school thing for me. So please, online, what is the definition of a person with a disability? Who can share that? Who thinks?
Someone with a, I don't like using the term handicap, but a physical, a physical, yeah, thank you, a physical or mental, how do I don't know.
Exactly, right? It's not a
Not a
hard
handicap or shortcoming, but
I know, or challenge. Anybody else? Anybody online? Would you guys like to share?
Well, it seems to me in our society, we have an attitude that we are all need to be like amazingly like all of our capabilities are supposed to be top notch.
Right,
And
right.
so
then when we have to think about those with disabilities, it's a different mindset, right? Because you think if they're not top notch, then you have a less than, right? And a person with a disability, but a true definition of a person with a disability, and I get a lot of terms, special needs, impairment, physically challenged, mentally challenged, etc. But the true definition is a person with an access or functional need, period. So when I say that, people go, well, what does that mean really, right? Because it kind of sums up, it could be a need in pertaining to their mental health. It could be a need for, and I do this also when you talk about me educating, I love doing presentations on disability awareness to many different entities. And I ask in the beginning, how many people here identify as being a person with a disability? And usually one or two people raise their hand. And after this explanation at the end of my presentation, almost everybody raises their hand. Because a person with an access or functional need can be probably any one of you. Do you take medication on a regular basis? You need to do that. That's a person with a disability. I need to have a hearing aid or glasses, perhaps. You might be a person with a disability. Having a disability doesn't mean inability. That's the key. And when we say challenges, not really, because for some of us, our disabilities are our superpower. If we're not so much challenged, perhaps our environment makes it challenging for us. That's where our advocacy efforts come in. And one of the great things also is when we talk about disabilities is that most are hidden. What do you guys think? And I know some of you are very intelligent people. What do you think is the number one form of disability?
Anxiety.
Mental, right? Mental health, maybe. Yeah, actually, number one is arthritis.
Physical.
When you think about it, right? How many of us have had issues with arthritis? And I wanted you to come back to another thing. It's also about the language for people with disabilities when you struggle with the word handicap. And you're absolutely right, because it's truly derogatory. It is derived from when a person with a disability sat on a curb with their handicap. It is for a beggar. That is the term handicap. So we don't use that. It is not handicap parking, it's accessible parking. It's not a handicap bathroom stall, it's an accessible bathroom stall. So when you take that word away, it takes away that negative, and this is where we talk about stigma, right? And being inclusive. And it's not a handicap. My disability isn't, and I stand before you with 3 significant disabilities, but you wouldn't know, right? And that's why being a peer-run organization is so important to us and why we are passionate. And I have about 87% of my staff have disability. So we're able then to help people that come through the door. Now, who does come through the door? Because when you think about someone with a disability, again, sometimes you go to someone who's in a wheelchair, they've had an amputation, but that's not necessarily the case at all. Most times there is a great deal, especially in Sullivan County, with substance use disorder. That is a disability. I won't even get into the debate on the biology of that, but it is a disability, as well as mental illness, PTSD, for example. So what do? We have core services that we provide. Peer counseling is one of them, but we are non-clinical. But it's that peer support. We are the ones running the anger management classes because we've had issues with our anger, or we've had issues with parenting, or being kinship parents. That's where it's parents as relatives taking on those roles. And it can be a lot. We also do a lot of programs for caregivers because they have a tendency to be isolated and also struggle with mental health as well. They say self-care, but when you don't care, you just don't care about yourself at that point because you're so concentrated on taking care of other people. So that's a challenge, right? Those are challenging circumstances. It's not my disability. So what do? We help anyone from birth to grave. It doesn't matter your income. Depending upon your income will depend upon certain services and benefits you could possibly get, but you will always get help from ATI no matter what. So we've had people come in all different circumstances, as you could probably imagine. We also, and I did leave brochures in the back, so if anybody is interested, this particular one is for our family services. We provide services for individuals on the autism spectrum. So kids, we have a couple of different programs. We have a life skills program and a social skills program, depending upon the age of the children, what they would be participating in. And it's just been an amazing program. That is funded through what's called the Office of People with Developmental Disabilities, or OPWDD. You might have heard of them before. They provide a lot of support for us. So we do classes, groups, programs, bringing kids into our office. We also have a parent-for-parent support group. That's a support group for parents who have children with disabilities. The divorce rate is considerably higher when you have a child with a disability in the home. And it's, again, has a lot of different sets of additional needs that you have to deal with as being a parent or a grandparent or whatever capacity you are when that is in the home. So a lot of programs, parenting class, budgeting, financial literacy, anger management, We also started this program called Living Well in the Community, which is an 8-week program about just how to be better. You know, like you said, always trying to achieve that aspect of perfection. You know, I just want to be healthier. You know, that's my goal. I can't be perfect. I'm never going to be running a mile. That's just not in my future. But what can I do to be healthier? And it's just looking at that and meeting people where they are. Another program that I'm especially proud of is the Joseph P. Dwyer Vet to Vet program. We have a program specifically for veterans and their family members. My passion in that really started, my dad's a veteran, but my husband is a 20-year retiree of the Navy. And while the VA is great, they're fabulous, they do what they do, and sometimes not so fabulous, there's no services at the VA for me, even as a spouse. There's nothing. I don't get anything. I do have insurance through TRICARE, but really I can't walk in the VA and access anything. Joseph P. Dwyer, before I get to that, actually, when I started ATI, I was assistant executive director, and I saw this grant come across our desk for the Wounded Warrior Service Dog Program. And we wanted to do veteran services in our agency and really try and bring some more services to Sullivan County. And also we serve Sullivan and Orange County. We have offices in both locations. But I wrote this grant, and we were able to provide service dogs to veterans who have PTSD. The purpose was, it was actually through the Uniform University in Bethesda, Maryland, because they were doing a research project because the VA didn't really know about PTSD. They didn't think it was really something that existed. You can't see it, touch it, smell it. Really? Do you really feel that way? You know, to convince someone that this is actually, again, a disability, this is where advocacy comes in. So we got the grant for several years. Fabulous. And I'll send a Facebook post, actually, it's a video. So we had a gentleman come through the program, and he works in Orange and Rockland utility company, and he got a service dog, and her name is Juliet. He really did well, and he broke it down for me in such a relatable way. He said PTSD is when a rational thought is no longer rational, and it's irrational. And he said, for example, for 3 years, he's driving down with his Humvee in Iraq, and every time you see a garbage can in the road, that's a bomb. Your rational response is to swerve your vehicle, get away from it, act in this other fashion. When then you come home and you see a garbage can in the street in Middletown, and your family's in the car, and you have that same reaction, you're now irrational. And then you have all these feelings of shame and horror that you've just exposed your family to. And you have a program now that's a tool. A service dog is a tool. And another little quiz, unknown fact, there are 2 species that are allowed by the ADA to be a service animal. One is a dog. What's the other?
Monkey.
Oh, is that
Monkey.
monkey? Okay.
A horse?
A horse, a miniature horse. Those are the only 2. The reason being, they're the only 2 species that can be housebroken. So, yeah. Yeah.
Miniature horse, yeah.
Miniature horse, yes. And here's another fun fact. When you think about the ADA, right, American with Disabilities Act, which is something that we advocate for all the time, and we ask people to make reasonable accommodations, right? When was the ADA signed?
86.
86. A lot of things with civil rights, like in the 60s and 70s. 1990.
Oh,
I have a kid older than the ADA. That's the reality, right? So when you think about who's behind the curve and some, aspects of civil rights, individuals with disabilities. So it's just an amazing program that we had with the service dogs. We ended up having great success with it. And then the university went into more clinical mode and looking into that research. So we ended up applying for and receiving the Joseph P. Dwyer Vet to Vet program. Private first class Joseph Dwyer really struggled. He is very well known for a picture that was taken of him rescuing a child in Iraq. And he had signed up right after 9/11. 9/11 was his motivating factor. He went in, he came back, he did more than one tour. He ended up really struggling with substance use disorder and PTSD. He was married at the time, And his family didn't know what to do. Again, the VA was not there for them. They have no idea. And substance use disorder is what we call a family disease. It impacts everyone. Every single person in the family is impacted by it. So they had no idea what to do. He unfortunately was huffing and had called the cab to take him to the hospital. He knew he needed to go into treatment. And the cab driver got there, but his door was locked and he was too weak to get to the door. They tried to break the door down. By the time the police came, he had passed. His family advocated, you want to talk about amazing advocacy, his family advocated Department of Health, New York State Department of Health, to create a program that had nothing to do with the VA, absolutely nothing to do with the VA, that would provide that peer-to-peer, veteran-to-veteran connection. Because many times what we find veterans come back and their transition is a lot of isolation. And they're really not connected. Because also if you look around here locally, what do you see? VFWs, American Legions that are really fading fast. They don't connect with that age group. So they're coming back with a lot of challenges. So as a result, OMH, Office of Mental Health, had decided to fund this program and do a pilot program in a few counties. And he's from the Hudson Valley. This is why this is so significant. He ended up, his family was successful, had it in a few counties. It started spreading. It is now in every county in New York State. So this program gives us great leverage to do things that the VA can't do or the VSO can't do. If I need to help a veteran obtain services, if he needs transportation or something unusual or unforeseen, it gives us a lot more leeway in helping that person. And back to Nick, my veteran who got a service dog, his job would not allow him to have his dog with him because he drove for Orange and Rockland. And as a result, they said you can't leave, the truck is not allowed to idle according to policy. So he couldn't have a dog with him and not have it temperature controlled, right? Because if you're in the summer and the truck is shut off and they have to leave the dog in, that's not going to work. So they had refused to allow him. So ATI went, we did a presentation, explained the program and the purpose, and Orange and Rockland, a very large utility company, changed their policy and procedures. They even made Juliet her own employee file. So she has her shout record and she has her little tag. And but yeah, so Nick was able to be employed. It is cases like this that I could talk about for hours about that advocacy, educating people about reasonable accommodations. What does that mean? So those are just some of our core services that we do provide, and I'm super grateful. One last thing I want to touch base on is housing. In Sullivan County, housing is a huge issue, and I'm sure you've heard it on the radio or read it in the River Reporter, because it's been a big thing. I just want people to know, and I think something that isn't known as much is that there's so much going on behind the scenes. Commissioner John Little of Department of Social Services, we meet monthly on what's called a local planning body meeting, and we're able to discuss the issues and we're trying to come up with solutions because individuals with disabilities are really struggling finding accessible homes. They have an apartment, it's on the second floor, they can't get up to it. And so any new structures or things like that coming in, we're advocating for accessible units. A big problem is our inventory and our prices. Inventory is low, prices are crazy. So ATI really had started to recognize the need after COVID. That was I think a big tipping point in our world here in Sullivan County. And we stayed open the entire time during COVID. We felt that we were essential. There were so many people that really needed help. And one case was we had an 83-year-old woman who was going through chemo, and she could not stand online or duke it out over toilet paper, during that time. That was such a horrible time. And her daughter was quarantined in New York City and couldn't get up here. Mm-hmm. And if you did online shopping at the head, right at the beginning of COVID, they're like, yeah, you can place your order, but it'll get delivered 2 weeks from now, right? And I couldn't do that either because she needed supplies. So her daughter did go online, purchasing, and also because it was a Passover and she wanted to have foods appropriate for her holiday. And so food pantries were not providing that because I could get a food pantry delivery by Marty Calavito, but I had to have appropriate Passover kosher appropriate foods. And we made that happen so that she was able to still have her time, her special day and period of time, and know that she would get those items, be taken care of, even though her daughter couldn't be there. And that was our goal. That was just to help people in such a great time of need. And during that was the eviction moratorium, and people weren't allowed to be evicted. And also people got behind on their rents extensively because they couldn't work in some vocations, especially. So we ended up applying and helping with what was called the ERAP, Emergency Rental Assistance Program, and also the LRAP, the Landlord Rental Assistance Program. And we were orchestrated in bringing in over $12 million to Sullivan County for rental assistance over that period of time of a few years. We also were so successful that we now chair what's called the Coordinated Entry Committee, and anyone who is experiencing homelessness comes through that system, and we're trying to place people as much as possible. Currently, there are 300 people being sheltered in Sullivan County, and 89 of them are children. So it is our goal to really get people sheltered as soon as possible, but it's really hard again with our low inventory, high price, and people cannot necessarily afford even to do that. So the cost that is coming into the county is astronomical, and we're working to get rid of that, or to alleviate that cost. And we applied for and received the STEP program, that's Solutions to End Homelessness Program, STEHP. And the STEP program brings in $300,000 a year now for at least a 5-year contract. And it helps people with rental assistance, security deposits, stabilizing their housing. And we also received money from the opioid settlement dollars that we applied for, and that we've had issues where someone will want to go into treatment, but because they are the breadwinner, they're afraid their family will get evicted if they then go into a 30, 60, 90-day treatment. So we have funds available to cover and stabilize those housing costs for anyone who that is that situation. So, and I don't know my time. You'll have to forgive me.
You got a few more minutes.
Okay. So those are just some of the things that ATI does. We also partner with amazing people. And on the back table, I left you a whole bunch of the Sullivan 180 Community Resource Guide. ATI's logo is right here, and I don't know if we put up my website as well, Tom. We helped publish this wonderful guide, and there's also.
It's up there now.
Oh, thank you so much. That's our atitoday.org. You're always welcome to visit. In the Sullivan 180 guide, there is a little emblem next to some of the agencies. They are part of what's called the Unite Us referral system. So we are in the Unite Us system. You can self-refer. Anyone can go on a computer and refer themselves to an agency, or we get referrals from other agencies. It's a closed loop referral system, and it's just been amazing. And we used opioid dollars as well to start that in Sullivan County with Commissioner Little's support and help. And so I can't even begin to tell you the amazing work that we get to do, because not any one agency can do it alone. We all have to work together. We work extensively with public health, Alzheimer's Association. We're on the program advisory council for that. Any entity that needs help, we're there. I've done presentations to Bethel Wood staff because you've had people trying to bring in emotional support ferrets to the concert. What are the laws and legalities on that? So our goal is helping anyone, and especially to really help those with disabilities to be seen in a different way. And upcoming, we are also sponsors for the National Disability Employment Awareness Month, October, that's when that is. And Sullivan County Workforce Development and ATI are partnering to do a whole employment summit for veterans for the Hudson Valley. So, and just also another thing, I'm not just Sullivan County. I can help anybody because of our federal funding. I can cross any boundary I need to. We have clients in Pike County, Wayne County, Delaware County, Orange, you name it. Because again, it's about accessibility. If somebody's right on that county line, what can we do to assist them? And any way to make it easier is really our goal. Obviously, there are still some, boundaries that others can't cross, but at least we're able to direct people and help them out no matter where they are. So thank you. And if you have any, oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And if anybody has any questions, again, I could talk all day. I apologize. Yes.
Is there an equivalent to you in Pennsylvania?
There is an ILC in Pennsylvania. It's actually out of Scranton. They're multi-county as well. I don't think that they actually have an office in Wayne, or in like Honesdale area, because I would love that if that was the case. It's also distressing to me that they have an Alzheimer's association. Again, there's not an office in Wayne County. It's in Scranton, because I wanted to hook up and do a caregiver support group in PA. So I'm doing a virtual one, a caregiver support group through ATI. So if anybody was interested in that, and it's also for the long distance caregiver. Many of us don't live next to our family like we used to, right? So I'm dealing personally with my parents in Florida, my brother in Tennessee. So it's how to tap into those resources, because people don't know who to go to. There is an office for the aging in every county and every state. You just have to find it. And you don't think of that, right? Thank you, though.
You said there's an office in Pike County?
No, our office is not, but we've helped people in Pike.
There's something in
Yes,
Pike County.
yeah. I don't know if the one in Scranton is like Northeast PA is the region, so that's Pike, Wayne, and probably below. So yeah, many of us are multi-county. It's just the lay of the land sometimes, and especially in rural areas, that's been a historic way of handling it. So us too, we're Sullivan and Orange, technically. Yeah.
I think the thing with, this is just an aside.
Mm-hmm.
I have a different question too. But I think the thing with the Scranton-based stuff, that they don't, like there's a United Way. There's no United Way.
Right.
The United Way is in Scranton.
Yeah.
Right. So it seems like a lot of the bigger, the support systems is coming out of Scranton, and not necessarily, like, we're just fortunate that we do have, our own like kind of little branches of these things, and not necessarily just kind of on a bigger one.
And that is why also the federal funding that we have allows us to go. I do have veterans, even in Pennsylvania, that come to New York for the service dog training, because the closest thing would be Scranton, right? And how much, that's 45 minutes away, and my office is 30 minutes, depending upon where you are in PA. And so, yeah, so for us, and also is that service even offered there? That is one thing. Not all ILCs are created equal. It's all depending upon the leadership, depending upon the need of the community. That's really where we should always be looking at first. It doesn't matter. I could have, I could apply for so much money for a service dog program, but if I only have 5 veterans, what's the point? But if I apply for this much money for rental assistance, right, how many more people are we going to be able to help? So it's our job to assess, and we do needs assessments. We ask our public, or what are you looking for? We also take questions that, we get from our audience, and why don't you do this? And I don't know, we should look into that then, And that's one of the great things about an ILC, is that we do have that flexibility.
I did wonder about funding. I heard you say that you are funded, but is that under any kind of...
Yeah, so there's always the discretionary and non-discretionary funding, right? We have a huge amount of federal, state, and local municipalities. So we have, the county contracts us to provide a service. So parent support group and other things, the county is paying us to do that. They have given us, great faith. We have credentialed staff. We have credentialed family and children and youth peer advocates. So it's, the county says, okay, you guys can do this program. Just similarly that they contract, say, with Federation for the Homeless to provide the warming center, for example. So they'll contract with us, and we're what's called CBOs, community-based organizations. We don't take Medicaid. We don't bill for Medicaid. We are purely grant, contract, or private donations. We have had many people grateful. Kiwanis, huge supporter of us, for example. We've had other groups that have just been very gracious, and we are so grateful for any donation because, again, if you need something that's outside the scope of the grant, I need the funds to be able to perhaps tweak that situation and help out. One thing, we had a veteran, for example, and this was, again, a lot of advocacy on this part, but not so much, it was distressing that I couldn't have the outcome that we all wanted, but they were one day late in paying their property tax, otherwise it was, boom, gonna go for the tax auction. And a check was in the mail, right? Because during COVID, it was a challenging time with a lot of things in mail. And he was one day late. And the Dalai Lama said, know all the rules so you know how to break them properly. And I live by that a lot of times. But that's advocacy, right? So I had to know the rules. So I found out that if this person, this veteran, filed for bankruptcy before the judge signed it for it to go to auction, his home was safe. So we immediately went on a course to find a lawyer because he had to take some sort of course online, and the lawyer had to do the paperwork and get all this paperwork done in the next few hours and get that done.
Oh my.
We found a solution. And so we saved his home, which you're like, yay. But the thing that's terrible is the fact that he had a black mark on his record for the next, 7 years because he had to claim bankruptcy. So, it's those things that we also bring to the attention of our elected officials. There's a fine line between advocating and lobbying, and I'm never allowed to go visit someone. I can only go when I'm asked and invited.
Just up a little bit.
So, and I'm so grateful that you all invited me here today. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. This
Thank
was
you.
great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Actually, does anybody have any questions?
Do
Sharon,
you
Yeah.
have any questions online?
I hope Bobby's got.
now Sharon generally has.
Sharon generally does.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Exactly what we all needed to hear.
True enough. True enough.
It's wonderful to know that we don't often in our atmosphere right now, in our landscape, we don't necessarily celebrate all of the multitude of people that are doing really inclusive work. What the national, what seems to be being put out is that we're all at odds with each other and we can't even talk to each other anymore, and it's simply not all of the pieces. Right? It's not all the pieces. So it's really, really good that we are reminded with that. I have some closing words that's called navigating, again by Mary Walker. Frightening thoughts are roads to no return, taking you places you don't want to go. The further down that road you go, the worse you imagine things to be. There's enough that's intolerable in the world without dreaming up more. Redirect the mind. Where? The sun, the stars, the moon, and tides. Each proffers a steady hand. Each offers a truth you can steer by. So as our closing chant, I'm renewed with the circling of the earth. I'm renewed by the warmth of the sun. I'm renewed by the breath of the wind in the trees. That one's tricky, but renewed by the breath of the wind in the trees. I'm renewed and refreshed by love. Huh? Let's sing the last line. I'm renewed with the circling of the earth, the warmth of the sun. I'm renewed by the warmth of the sun. I'm renewed by the breath of the wind in the trees. I'm renewed by the breath of the wind in the trees. I'm renewed and refreshed by love. I'm renewed with the circling of the earth. I'm renewed by the warmth of the sun.
I'm renewed by the breath of the wind in the trees. I'm renewed and refreshed by love. I'm renewed in the circling of the earth. I'm renewed by the warmth of the sun. I'm renewed by the breath of the wind in the trees. I'm renewed and refreshed by love. Last time. I'm renewed with the circling of the earth. I'm renewed by the warmth of the sun. I'm renewed by the breath of the wind in the trees. I'm renewed and refreshed by love. I'm renewed and refreshed by love. More time for emphasis. I'm renewed and refreshed by love.
So we extinguish our chalice. Let us close with, again, the definition of disability.
A person with an access or functional need.
We will remember. All of us. Until we meet again.
Deborah, thank you so much.
Oh, thank